Super Bowl champion Greg Jennings is here. Nick didn't like it.
That's some bravado.
Hey, he went to the Super Bowl.
He did go to the Super Bowl last year, and I have massive respect for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But I think they've gone a step too far. I do, and I think it's poor. I think it's poor strategy. I think it will bite them. I think things have been going too well for a little too long. And Joe Mixon, I mean, that's a lot of talking for a guy with 800 yards. It's a lot of talking.
He's a nice back, though.
I mean, the guy had 100. He had one more 100-yard game this year than I did. But yes, no. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of tweeting. It's a lot of planned celebrations for a team that hasn't played great in a month. For a team that was down 17-0 to the very boring Tampa Bay Bucks. For a team that did its best to blow a game to the New England Patriots. And for a team that actually, after jumping out to an early lead, 3 straight games, they played one good half. First half against the Patriots, first half last week against Baltimore, and the second half against Tampa. And then against Baltimore with Anthony Brown out there, all of a sudden, it's like, is this a game again? And also, I think there needs to be a little respect put on John Harbaugh's name in this regard. The NFL all-time leader in road playoff victories. 8 by John Harbaugh. This Ravens team actually under him has not been great at home in the playoffs. They have been historically good on the road in the playoffs. Joe Mixon's quarterback, we're not hearing a lot of chirping from him. We heard the one comment is like, hey, is this your window? And he was like, window's my whole career. But he understands that the Ravens defense arguably has been the best defense in football for 3 months, that the Ravens are going to try to run that football, and that Cincinnati is kind of due for a couple unlucky bounces. Wow. They've been riding pretty hot for a very long time.
Okay.
And, Bruin, by the way, you don't agree with his comments. I know you don't.
Well, let me say this, though. He's out there a little bit.
You don't say.
But this is Kansas City's fault. This is your boy's fault, the Chiefs. Because who's been the big dog of the AFC? He said big dog. The big dog of the AFC since Tom Brady left has been Kansas City.
True.
And when you go into the big dog's house and raid their refrigerator, sleep in their bed, use their toothbrush, and the big dog can't do anything.
But that game was in Cincinnati.
Then you start feeling like you're the big dog.
But that game was in Cincinnati.
Well, okay, let's go to the playoff game.
That's last year. We're not talking about last year.
But they still thinking about that.
Okay.
And so when you do that to the big dog, then you start thinking you're the big dog, and that's fine.
You are the big
dog.
But if he wants to think that in regards to Kansas City.
But my point is,
he hasn't played Buffalo.
Right, exactly.
That's my problem. You can talk that mess about the Chiefs all you want, but you have not played the Bills other than 6 minutes.
Yeah, but Greg, that's the problem. Is if this is trash talk directed at the Chiefs, which is how you read it, how I read it, that's fine. They got a long ways before you, the Chiefs. You have a prideful, great defense in Baltimore, then Buffalo in Buffalo. And if you're essentially talking about the Chiefs, I think the eye off the ball, he said in this interview 3 times, we can't be beat. I disagree with that. I know they're on a nice winning streak. I disagree with that.
Wilds. Joe B is rubbing off on everybody.
You like it.
I love it. I told
it.
you I'm dressed. I'm ready to take my stuff off and go right now. If they need an extra, I'm ready. Trust me. I'll play for you, Joe Burrow, because you got us all believing. You are the big dogs, and I'm going to tell you why you are the big dogs. Since you had your turn. Since last year in the postseason, they have the best record in the AFC.
Pretty good.
Who did they take? We all understand they didn't get the opportunity to play the Bills.
Second here.
They have the best record. Your guys, 11-4. They had the extra game this year. Congratulations. The Buffalo Bills, 10-3 since last year in the postseason. This is postseason wins, losses, and this year's wins, losses. And the Bengals are 11-3 since last postseason and
against
this
the
year.
AFC.
Against the AFC.
Okay.
They are. He said we're the big dogs in the AFC. We are the big dogs. And yes, Joe, you are the big dogs.
Well, they got to back it up.
But
That's
yeah,
all. This
we
is.
all know they gotta
That's
back it
all.
up.
We'll love it.
But-
This will be legendary if they back it up. What he just said, that will be played ad nauseum.
He's saying what everyone in that locker room feels and believes.
Pick the Ravens so bad.
The Kansas City Chiefs feel like they're the big dogs, but they just don't talk like that.
Yeah, no better.
Oh, they get their swag. They get their swag on and all that.
That's exactly how we've been kind of brainwashed to make sure players and athletes think like they know better. You shouldn't say that. You give other teams bulletin board material. You heard them. If you continue to listen, I don't care. It's bulletin board. You can say it's bulletin board material. They gonna get our best shot. We gonna get their best shot. If we bring our A game, we're gonna win.
I just think, that's fine. The confidence is fine. I also think, though, it is slightly ahistorical.
Because they own the Chiefs. They own the big dog of the AFC. I get where Mixon's coming from. I'm just saying you have not faced Buffalo. So you might want to chill a little bit.
What I am saying, though, is that he is talking as if they ran roughshod over the playoffs last year and through the AFC this year. This year, they are the, 3 seed in the AFC. Last year in the playoffs, every single one of those games came down to the final drive of the game.
Did they win?
Hold on.
Right.
Well, no.
That's all that matters.
Wait a moment. Wait a moment.
We talked about KC's
Hold on a
close
second,
games.
guys. Can I just finish the point? In 4 playoff games, their defense forced 9 turnovers, more than 2 a game. I don't think that's likely to repeat itself. And lastly, it's a lot of talk for the running back of a team that, objectively speaking, blew the Super Bowl. We don't ever talk about it. They had that game in firm control, and they punted 3 times in the fourth quarter and then couldn't get a stop. So they're playing a tough team this week.
We got to move on to.
No, I know, because that's last year. We're talking about this year.
Okay, but all your stats were last year,
I know,
buddy.
but you just said it.
All I know is,
Can I pat myself on the back?
For what?
he said this.
When I sat here 2 weeks ago
Let me hear.
and said Brock Purdy's playing a lot like Jimmy G, I was ridiculed.
You laughed at him.
Yes, you laughed me to scorn. All right? And here is Christian McCaffrey sitting there saying, what's the direct quote? A lot of the things that Brock does, Jimmy did. All right?
Hand the ball to Christian McCaffrey?
Hold on. George Kittle loves Jimmy G. This is about respect. George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, 2 of the best players in the league, respect Jimmy Garoppolo. I think while Nick Wright should respect them, if they respected 2 of the best players in the league. And here's what I think he's talking about. And this is serious. I think he is looking at the professionalism of Jimmy Garoppolo. The fact that Jimmy Garoppolo, they moved heaven and earth to draft his replacement, Trey Lance. They tried to trade him. They didn't even give him a playbook at the beginning of the season. And when they needed him, he stepped up and was professional.
I think that's what McCaffrey know about that. He was a Panther during that whole process.
He watched it from afar.
Give me a break.
He saw it from afar.
This is
he
nonsense.
Talked to Kittle about
and the idea
that
you are patting yourself on the back for being proven right that one day Jimmy Garoppolo would be a good motivational speaker, that he'd be a fun guy to have at a party.
He's helping them win.
He is not helping them win.
That's a part of it.
No, he is not.
Greg, how important is the locker room?
No.
The locker room is very
important. Thank you. Jimmy G is king of the locker room. They love him.
It's true.
They love him.
Christian McCaffrey just said it.
Absolutely. McCaffrey didn't have to say that.
What do you want, guys? What do you want him to say when he's asked the question of how has Jimmy G helped Brock?
He wasn't asked that direct question.
What was he just brought it up out of?
It was something about when Jimmy G went down.
Yes.
What did he think was going to happen? Did he think they were done?
The level of audaciousness it takes to pat yourself on the back for anything involving Brock Purdy when he has objectively outplayed Jimmy Garoppolo and the team's undefeated. Listen, I said my New Year's resolution was to be less humble. I can't. You are taking it to levels unknown.
Right. You don't even have to go that far. Because Jimmy Garoppolo was he in the locker room last year?
Yeah.
Who was Nick Mullins there?
What? Nick Mullins?
Yeah,
sure.
Well, Jimmy G played
C.J.
last
Beathard?
year.
The year before?
Yeah.
All those years?
You need a little talent to mold and sculpt.
Yeah, exactly. My point. Brock Purdy just has talent. He's been better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sure Jimmy Garoppolo is showing him the ropes. Hey, this is what I would do in this situation. Appreciate it. I'm going to do it better than you. That's what he's thinking in the back of his head. I mean, that's what they're getting. That's what we're seeing.
We heard it straight
Like,
from the
it is like
49ers
this.
locker room.
Thank you. That side of the
Said it
table is
plain
just,
as day.
Y'all don't want to
Jimmy
give
G
love.
is responsible for Brock Purdy, just like Broussard said. He practically
is
said,
not
You
what Broussard
think,
said.
Brock Purdy was this good when he arrived in San Francisco?
I think
he's
Brock-
learned at the feet of Jimmy G.
I think Jimmy G has as much to do with Brock Purdy's success as you do. None at all.
Tell it to Christian McCaffrey.
He was on the bud list yesterday. I motivate. I inspire. I think he was on before that.
Lamar's knee and Harbaugh's
Inspiration.
odd press conference.
Wow.
We discuss next. It's true.
True.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.